Hi guys, Paul here from Family Separation Services. I just wanted to do a little video in advance of the divorce referendum coming up on the 24th of May. Um, Obviously, it goes without saying, everyone seems to be voting yes, so I'd ask you to do the same. But I think I'd be shocked if it's not a landslide, because nobody wants to, when you've decided to break up, nobody wants to be spending 4 years without getting things regulated and being able to get a divorce. So I think that should happen, and there shouldn't be an issue. Um, the other part I wanted to do was, we've got a lot of questions coming in. I'm on an awful lot of websites, and it's not just Ireland, like it's across the world, self-help organisations who, people ask questions in relation to family law issues. And it just keeps coming back to me the same thing all the time. Like, when you're emotionally involved in a situation, it's very hard to think logically. It's not that you're not logical, it's just that particular situation that you're emotionally involved in with your ex prevents you from having the ability to think logically. And I say that because when we think illogically, it stands to reason that our actions as a result of those thoughts are going to be illogical, because our mindset is in a different way. We're thinking about revenge, we're thinking about anger, we're thinking about upset, we're thinking about the fact that the relationship broke down, and they are having an impact on all the practical decisions on a day-to-day basis regarding the children, the family, the finances, the house, all those kind of day-to-day things. The other thing I always see is that people, when they're separating, like obviously, sometimes there's a dominant person in the relationship and a submissive person in the relationship, and that continues after the separation. So regardless to which one you are, there's a lot of accusations, there's a lot of denials, there's a lot of complaints one makes about the other parent that is so strict that you have to ask yourself, would I have had this very same issue when we were together, as I do now? And I'm going into court, I'm looking for social workers, we're looking for child psychologists, we're bringing the child to a play therapist, when with the exact same symptoms, we have to ask ourselves, would we have had the same reaction regarding the child or the other parent if we were still together? Or is it just because the relationship is broken down, we're a bit more sensitive? Now, this goes for both sides. I'm just kind of highlighting the issues in general. And as always, some people will say, no, you don't know my ex, this is serious and so on. And it probably is, I agree with you. I'm just talking in general. Sometimes we can go overboard a little bit. And then a snowflake turns into an avalanche. We complain when we go to court and we don't get the outcome we wanted. We think the judge was biased. We think he wasn't listening to us correctly, right? But we're looking at it from our point of view. The judge has 50 people outside. He's not in a position to listen to the full case and deal with everything really quickly. He's got to make quick, snap decisions, right? But the solution is avoid the judge. Go back to thinking the way you were when you were together regarding the parenting and the finances and all those things. And try dealing amicably. Because, and you may say the other side won't agree to that. Well, I'm talking to the other side now too, because if both sides don't come together, you're going to pay a fortune on solicitors. You're going to go to a judge who doesn't even want to be there because family law is a short straw and they all get changed around from criminal law and all the other stuff, right? So if you want to avoid getting a raw deal in court, don't go to court, or go to court with an agreement. It's simple, It's like doing the lotto. You have a right to do the lotto, you don't have a right to win it. And the chances are you won't win it. It's not, certainly not you're not gonna get the outcome in court that you expected. You might get, to regulate things and so on, but the court can't cater for every single incident that occurs. Sometimes we need to kind of use a bit of common sense, and we can't control what the other side does, but we can control how we react to it. And that's far beyond the remit of the court, because you have to raise these kids for the next couple of years, and you have to deal with the finances. Some of you may share a house together and so on. And I'm talking to both parties here. Like, I just sometimes love to crack heads sometimes, because people think from their perspective that they're right. And you probably are a little bit, but you're probably a little bit wrong as well. But you're going into court with false expectations, and then you're setting yourself up for failure, you're setting yourself up for arguments. And even when the orders like enforced, I'm going to court because he breached the order, or she was 5 minutes late last week and he didn't pay the maintenance this week, or she didn't do this or didn't do that, right? I'm being over strict and we're going into court to apply for a breach of an access, and we're devastated when he's not or she's not sent to prison as a result of it. But can you imagine every angry couple? There's 150,000 people in Ireland marked living apart on the census, and that's just married couples. That's nothing to do with unmarried couples. They're all living apart, right? Can you imagine all of them now? The chances are the majority of them don't get on too well as people, you know. But can you imagine each and every one of them had an access order, a maintenance order, or something like that, and each one of them went to the court, and the judge had to bang them all into prison? Like, it's just not practical. We've got to be realistic here, you know. Allow for stuff to go wrong. Now, if there's 6 or 7 breaches in a row, okay, into court, let's get this sorted, you know. Or if the money hasn't been paid in about 3 months or 2 months, and again, I know people are struggling, I know, but if you operate like the other person didn't exist and make a plan B all the time, you can't get affected. For instance, if you were planning on going on a hens weekend this weekend and the other partner was supposed to take the children, and then you get a call on Friday, you can't take the children, your hens weekend is round. Or you can make a plan B months in advance or weeks in advance when you know. So listen, just in case my ex-partner can't take the child, would it be possible if you did? If he wasn't around the first place, you would have to do that anyway, you know. And I'm not trying to simplify things. I know it's very difficult. I know it's hard. And, you know, time is a great healer, but the clock only starts when you regulate your affairs and come to an agreement. Do you know what I mean? But life goes on. You know, both parties are going to meet new partners down the road. And 9 times out of 10, that has a knock-on effect because access gets stopped. Or that bloke's not living in my house while I'm paying the mortgage, or, you know, he's not allowed to have his girlfriend around my kids. And it's a natural feeling because you feel that this other parent is going to take over your role. But that rarely happens in reality. Again, there are exceptional circumstances, but in general, it rarely happens. And let time pass, you know. And then, you know, we're being too strict. The maintenance only came in on a Saturday, it didn't come in on a Friday. Or she won't let me have the kids, she was late back and she didn't pick up the yoke and she was stuck. Like, shit happens in life. Traffic, finances. You know, we didn't get paid this week. You know, she got stuck in work. She, you know, sometimes there's a communion on. It's your Saturday, but there's a communion on. She wants to bring the kids to the communion. Come on, man, let it go. Courts operate in the best interest of the children, not the best interest of the parents. You hear parents coming in saying, it's my right this and it's my right that, and how should she get to live in the house and I'm at there working all these years? But she gave up her right to build a career and pension to facilitate you having that job, and after the relationship broke down, you still have that job. It's not the man or the woman who lives in the house, it's whoever's the primary care of the kids, because the judge isn't changing the routine to let the kids live there. I'm just throwing out loads of examples here all in one go, right? I'm just trying to make the overall point. I always say to people, every time you have a situation that you're faced with, right, and it's hard, but always ask yourself, if you were sitting with your best friend and your best friend was putting this problem to you, what would you advise your best friend? And it's usually different to what you're thinking if you're going to be strict about being honest with yourself as to what you would say to your best friend. Okay? The reality is it's different to what you're thinking, and it's the one time you go against your gut instinct, and what you'd advise your best friend is usually the right answer. Because while you really care about your best friend, you're not emotionally involved, so you can think more logically. In your case, you are emotionally involved, so your mind has been diverted through emotion, and the decisions you're making are reflecting that accordingly. Again, I keep emphasising I'm talking to both parties. I'm not singling male or female out, husband or wife, man or woman, mother or father. That's not what I'm doing here, or even grandparents, right? But sometimes we got to sit back and go, right, if we don't want to get shafted in court, let's sit down and come to an agreement, because he's going to shaft both of us. Because 9 times out of 10, the judge makes a decision that both parties are not happy with, to deter you from coming back, because the people are out the door in the courts. Then someone looks, judges are judges, they're not experts in child law, accountancy, houses, auctioneers, so they get the experts in. Then you have a, you know, section 47 they call it, child psychologist report, or section 20 or something. Someone does a report on relation to the child, speaks to you and the kids, the other person and the kids, people in the kid's life, and bring a report and recommendations back to the court to make a decision. Now that's a 50-50 punt. You could be the best parent in Ireland, right? But for that one day that person talks to you, you don't know who that person is, you don't know what their background is, you don't know why they get into this profession in the first place due to their own personal experience and have their own personal biases, and you think, Rosie in the garden, I'm going to, all these fears I had are all going to come true now because, this person's going to vindicate me as a great parent. And all of a sudden you're in court and the whole thing just goes bogey. And sometimes the parents are so against each other that they put the kids in care. And people complain then about Tulsa and all these things. Again, we got them involved in the first place. When we had the power and control to stop the snowflake turning into an avalanche and actually sit back and be logical and say, is this really this bad? Would I really have had this argument of him coming back later or her not paying the money or her this and the other if we were still together? And usually the best golden rule in the guide is to operate and make decisions if you're still together. Again, I know it's hard. I do. And time will heal things and it will go away. Believe me. Right? And I know there are exceptions, but just to use a guide, just as a guiding principle, if you don't want a bad judgment or to spend a fortune on solicitors, don't go to court unless you've an agreement. Now I know two sides, but at least be seen before you go to court to propose something to the other side. Don't go in hoping the judge is going to just fix everything. Propose something. If they don't respond, grant. Usually the judge will go, okay, you didn't respond, here's the proposal. If they do, you might be shocked, they might respond. Try it. See, can you come to an agreement? We're well able to do divorces and separations by consent. A lot of our cases are contested cases, but we do by consent. And believe me, it's quicker, it's hassle-free, it's cheaper. There's less times in court, there's no bickering, and you get to build a relationship as parents going forward better when you've actually come to an agreement. Now, I don't mean to be bullied into an agreement that's not suitable for you. Obviously, we can kind of give you a guide into what's fair and what's not. But that if both parties can come together and say, right, what's logical here? And again, logical for the children. If there's a family home, chances are whoever the primary carer was during the relationship will continue to be the primary carer and get to reside in the family home. There's no point in fighting that. The house will be sold and split when the last child ceases to be dependent. Yes, I know one parent has to move out and how are they going to afford it, but the judge can only operate on the what's in the pot, and the kids must be the priority, because the alternative is the father or the mother who was working lives in the house. Does the stay-at-home parent move out and take the kids and now has to pay rent for a 4 or 3 bedroom house? Or does the parent who stayed at home move out and come back and mind the kids when you go to work? You've got to be logical here. Sometimes the houses are in negative equity. The house would have been in negative equity if you're still together. That's not an issue for the court. That's just the way it is. People lost money in the boom, man. Now the houses are in negative equity. Well, they're coming up a bit now, but you get what I'm saying. Some things are beyond everyone's control. But yet we're all just so bitter and angry we think it's because of someone else. And then you have solicitors coming along and they're materialising on your emotion because they're biased by, the longer the case drags out, the more money they're making. The more letters they send, bang, bang, bang. You're feeling great because you're after banging the solicitor's letter off. Toilet paper. You're after costing yourself €80 plus VAT before anyone even applied to court. Seriously, 90% of family law is common sense. It's just common sense isn't that common when you're emotionally involved, unless you have the ability to step outside the box, pretend you're advising your friend, and try and look at this logically. I'm not putting anyone down. I went through it myself, and this is where I've come from, and this is why I'm able to say these things. This is what happens when a relationship breaks down. It's full of emotions, full of either anger or sadness, someone wrong someone in a particular way, but it doesn't change someone's ability to be a parent. And we need to focus on the best interest of the children, because it's going to be a long journey. You can either do it bitter and angry, or you can do it not as friends, but as co-parents, operating in the best interest of the child. Don't do things to make a nuisance of yourself, because the court will see right through it, and hiding behind the claim that your child's suffering or it's in their best interest. Let's be realistic here. Whoever the child is with, it's their responsibility if they get childminders, right? And if anything goes wrong, it will be their fault. But stop kind of dictating to each other who the children can be and can't be with when they're with that parent. You know what I mean? What's the point? So in summary, vote yes for divorce, but that's the easy part. Let's try and come to an agreement and not give the judges the opportunity to shaft us. Let's try and come to an amicable parenting plan that's actually in the best interest of the children, that doesn't involve the school and the GP and eventually Tulsa, where it just gets chaotic for everybody. And let's see, can we come to an agreement for this divorce referendum when it comes out, and it'd be a lot easier. Sorry, just have me children's pictures there. So, if anyone has any questions or would like assistance in anything I've talked about now or anything else, and there's lots of other videos, give us a call 086 046 2393 and send us a message on Facebook, Family Separation Services, or Family Law Dublin on Twitter. And yeah, take care. I'll be back soon with another couple of videos. Thanks.